right, welcome to the third review of the evening. Up this time is Unto Deepest Depths. Up Unto Deepest Depths is a turn-based strategy game where all units must move and attack every turn. Build your party, upgrade your units, and lead them into the unknown to vanquish the horrors below in this punishing roguelite where any move could be your last. And then you regenerate, if we're going by roguelite here.
You start over.
Right. Anyway, so we got the Nintendo Switch version of this, so that means it's over to the Golux for the details.
So yeah, this is a bit more of a chess style, or I'm trying. It's has a lot of stuff is very simple and mechanical, rather than being any kind of character-oriented stuff. And again, it is pretty random actually. So yeah, the main things, you start out with a couple of units, and you go into battle, and everyone has to move and has to attack every turn. This can be problematic. One, if you want to move and not attack, you have to attack an empty square. And sometimes I accidentally attacked one of my own guys because I was trying to move on to them without thinking. And secondly, if you want to stay in one place and attack, you can't, and that can be tricky if you're playing a character with limited movement options and you want to hit something. So, for example, the archer character, which is one of the tier 2 martial characters, can move one or two spaces diagonally and then shoot orthogonally the nearest thing within 6 or 8 squares, something like that. It's not all the way to the end of the thing, unfortunately. I think it's like 6. So since it can only move diagonally, unfortunately, you cannot have an archer shoot at something that was on the same vertical or horizontal line of them at the start of their turn. Because they have to move before they can shoot. And there are enemies that have all kinds of different attributes. Some of them can move also, units have like 1, 2. The most health I ever saw was 4, and I was able to get something with 4 health too. So, some things are faster, some things have stronger attacks. There are ways to get defense, but I think most of those are from temporary, or either from permanent upgrades that you get by spending experience on upgrades instead of promotion, or from random event bonuses, because the unit upgrade tree is not very deep. The lowest one is the peasant, which has 1 hit, can move to any of the surrounding 8 squares, and can hit any of the surrounding 8 squares from where it moves. That upgrades to the knight, which has 2 hits and can move up to any combination of 2 squares, actually, which is surprisingly useful. Like, it can move diagonally also, or rather, over 1 and up 1. See, now Petty's having that problem where it's hard to kill the skeleton because it won't end up on the same thing.
That's why we lure it.
Yep. But and the mage, who can only move one square orthogonally, but then hits all of the squares immediately around it, and then a big circle that's like a few squares out from that. So they can do a lot of damage, but also have a significant risk of hitting their own guys, which is, bad. Then the mage can upgrade to a healer who can move one square diagonally and can heal one ally within a 3 square, I think, radius. I didn't use the healer much, but I feel like it probably is important if you're good at the game. Or a pyromancer who hits like 2 squares in every direction plus 3 additional diagonals at the end. So it hits like a 3x3, and then northeast, east, southeast, northwest, west, and southwest, but not directly north or south outside of that.
Oh, there's friendly fire?
Yeah. They did tell you that.
I didn't even notice.
Well, the thing is that in the tutorial, they that was the text on the stage where they showed you the mage killing a whole bunch of guys at once. But unfortunately, it didn't come up. Yeah, with the mage, it can be. You've got to be careful when you're playing with a mage to not fry your own guys. Anyway, the knight can upgrade into an archer who, like I said, moves up to 2 squares diagonally and then shoots orthogonally, or a lancer who moves only 1 square diagonally or orthogonally and then attacks 2 squares diagonally or orthogonally, which is useful. Also, do note that the knight can attack diagonally, but only 1 square. As you progress in the game, you can unlock backgrounds that tweak the difficulty and attributes of your runs. Also, Pettyfan has started with the default of Knight and Mage, and I did most of it with that, but I actually got further with some of the other layouts. It gives you generally have 2 ranks worth of guy. So you can start with a Knight and a Mage, 2 Knights, or an archer and a peasant, I think. There might be another one. The archer and peasant is surprisingly useful because it's easier to upgrade a peasant into a knight than it is to upgrade an archer into... Oh, right. And then the lancer upgrades into a warrior, which can move 2 squares. I think only orthogonally or diagonally. It can't hit the corners of that. I think. And then attacks all 8 squares around it. And the archer upgrades into I forget what they called it, but a guy with like a ballista that can hit further. It hits, or rather, it has the same health. The Lancer has 4 health, by the way, is the big deal of the Lancer. That and being able to hit non-adjacent things. But anyway, the Archer's upgrade thing is that it can hit diagonally. And then I never saw the further upgrades. Anyway, at the end of every battle, you gain experience, and you can use that to promote your guys to a new class, or you can buy upgrades that, like, some of the examples of upgrades are, if you would die from full health once per map, you don't, or you get 1 more heart, or you do an extra damage. So yeah, those can be useful, but I honestly, and that might be better than spending more on the things. You can also, for 4 points, which is about as much as it takes to upgrade a peasant into a knight, you can recruit a new guy who I think is always a peasant. You can also sometimes get offered to recruit people on the road. That's one of the kinds of the question mark events. So yeah, you go through maps that have a mixture of battles and events. The battles are fairly randomized, and the events are obviously random too. A lot of them will give you a status effect or bonus, or give you bonus experience because you aren't guaranteed to get experience from a event, unlike a battle, or give you a trait that affects your hero, such as, for example, one of them is makes you luckier, which means you're more likely to get the good outcome in events that can go either way. Things like that. There's a lot of possibilities that you can get to for that. And the battles, and then at the end of each map, there's a boss battle, which features at least one more powerful enemy in addition to some grunts. I think the boss battles might be non-randomized, but I only saw the first boss and only about 3 times, and they were a ways apart, so I don't remember everything that was in all of them. But the first boss always has a warrior, the ones that move 1 square and then attack all the way, or 2 squares and then attack all the way around them and have 4 health. Or no, 3 health. But I think the boss has 4. Anyway. So yeah, the maps are all different shapes. There can be obstacles or holes. The difference being whether you can shoot over them mostly. I didn't see any 3rd level upgrades for the magic classes, so, but I did get the pyromancer. I didn't survive a battle with the healer to see if they had an upgrade. The reason I say this is because there was, in one of the latest battles, I got to a magic using enemy that has a thing that hits 3 squares orthogonally, which was pretty powerful. But yeah, so then, yeah, you just, generally when you choose a route, you're locked on that route for like a couple of missions or a couple of things. One of the most complicated random events I got was a group of probably bandits that like hire you to do a battle. You are able to say no to this, but I got into a battle with like 3 extra guest characters versus a bunch of powerful enemies that killed all of us very quickly because the guest characters were not actually particularly good. And you get to control the guest characters too. Yeah, that was an interesting event to get. It does seem like there's a decent amount of depth here, but it's also very strict. Like, there are a lot of times when I wished I could either not move or not attack. And obviously the aesthetic, it's a low pixel aesthetic. I think it's an attractive one, but might not be for everyone.
Yeah, the whole requiring moving and attacking thing makes it feel more like a puzzle game than it does like a strategy game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the only real strategy things here are that you get to choose your guys and that you can upgrade them. And also, it can't be much of a puzzle when the significant quantities of the battles are procedurally generated.
I mean, hello, Tetris.
Okay, it can, but they wouldn't necessarily be good ones. You can't make a super intricate puzzle randomly, is what I mean. Then again, there are usually more than one solution. So yeah, I do. Overall, I had a mostly positive experience with this, but there were some frustrating times. Honestly, a lot of the frustrating things were almost like my brain / cursor memory related, like accidentally attacking one of my guys instead of attacking an empty square or canceling a move. Or I noticed one thing where there's a menu with two options it's the progress to the next stage menu. There are two options at the bottom, and it defaults to a different one whether you scroll up off the top or down off the bottom to it. And that was it was either that or it's the upgrade your party members one. Anyway, one of those. Also, I don't know how big your party can get. I never had more than 4, but there was that one stage with the guests where there were 6, so it's not a hardware or like a hard limitation if it's less than 6.
Right.
I'm curious if there are more evolutions or more to do with the non-promotion upgrades than I really got a chance to play around with, because also if you're not spending the experience you have, you're not improving at all. So once you get over like 4 or 5 or 6, you start really wanting to use it so that you're actually improving, because you start out pretty weak.
Yeah.
And the enemies do get harder. So yeah, I think I generally had a pretty good experience with it. The music was not particularly memorable. So how much do either of you guys have any questions?
I'm good.
Adam, you there?
Anyway, can you hear me?
We can
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Anyway, the game is clocking in at $7.
Yeah, that sounds good for this. I don't know how long it is. I only made it like a third of the way through the second zone.
Yeah, this is definitely something you'd probably play on the Switch or a Steam Deck. Again, chunk little bits here and there. Or you're like
Yeah,
waiting for the bus
it's
or waiting at a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, I believe you can save and quit mid-run.
Well,
and
I
get
mean,
back
also
up.
on the Switch, just put your Switch to sleep.
That too, yeah.
As long as you're not in danger of running out of battery, you're fine till you get home.
So yeah, that in general, I think it's pretty good. I would recommend it if you are into strategy type battle games and don't require deep RPG elements.
All right. So seems like that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as we deliver impressions on the Scouring.